As we move into talking about crates, you should know that most of the same supply companies that we talked about in framing will also sell you a lot of the things that you need for shipping. Add to the list MasterPack, Sealed Air, and Uline, all of which will sell you packing and shipping materials, though MasterPack and Sealed Air are the ones who actually make things like bubble wrap. A couple of guiding principles about crates. You want the best combination you can get of strong and light. Sometimes, though a wooden crate is stronger, it will be so heavy that it actually wouldn't be safer for the art. You don't want vibration or the artwork to move or slide around in your packaging, but you also don't want it under so much pressure or stress that it takes damage every time it's put down. It must be easy to unpack safely, so don't make your crate so secure that no one can open it. Also, don't ask them to cut tape that's close to the art. The bubble wrap or other materials closest to the art can often be held in place by the layers that come on top or by small amounts of easy-to-remove tape. You want to label everything. Cut here. Don't cut here. Unscrew this. Leave this alone. If you have a box with anything other than open box takeout art level of complexity, take photographs, especially if there are different layers, and tape them to the inside of the lid. Perhaps even more importantly, it must be just as easy to repack it safely. Don't expect them to remember how to fit everything back in Tetris style 6 weeks later when the show comes down. No. Styrofoam packing peanuts, or what the gallery owner I worked for used to call ghost turds, are surprisingly useless. They will shift out of the way until your art is sitting at the bottom of the crate. The only way that you might consider using them is if you tied them inside of plastic bags, making a cushion that won't disperse as the art shifts around. But mostly, no. If you're going to be shipping a three-dimensional object that's highly breakable or that needs to be shipped more than once, you might consider investing in Instapack, a product by Sealed Air. It comes as flat plastic sheets. You pop bubbles to mix the two chemicals inside, and they slowly expand, eventually drying into a rigid foam that will fill all the crevices around your art. I'm sure they're horrible for the environment, but do offer a high level of protection. Whatever touches the art should be archival. I've mentioned it before, but buying a roll of glassine is absolutely worth it. Even if your three-dimensional artwork is too complex to easily wrap in glassine, you can still put small sheets at all of the contact points within your crate. If at all possible, avoid shipping framework. If somebody has bought artwork of yours over the internet, shipping it unframed will be a lot cheaper. If you're shipping work to a show and it needs to be framed, ready to hang, try even harder to avoid shipping work that was framed with glass. If for some reason you can't get around it, then use glass skin, available from MasterPack, or make a grid of masking tape so that when the glass breaks, at least the shards won't go flying around and cut your art. If you're sending only one two-dimensional work of art, a soft pack in cardboard is probably sufficient. You can make sure it's safe by having 2 layers of cardboard. Change the direction of the corrugation so that it isn't easy for the piece to get folded. Or add something non-corrugated to the middle. For thicker artworks, you might still be perfectly safe with cardboard boxes. Wrap your art in glassine, then wrap it again in bubble wrap. Then put cardboard on the front and the back. If you're feeling especially nervous, you could put another layer of bubble wrap around it, and then build a cardboard box around it. Save large sheets of cardboard that you can lightly score and then fold with a metal yardstick. Cut out notches and tabs for the corners, but fold them over to give yourself a little bit of extra padding. Then turn the whole thing upside down, put it on another piece of cardboard, and do it again. You'll have a top and a bottom that are slightly different sizes. One slides into the other. Label which way they're supposed to open it, and send it on its merry way. If you don't trust cardboard, you can build a simple wooden crate with dimensional lumber that's a couple of inches deeper than the thickness of your art after it's been wrapped in bubble wrap. Find some scraps of plywood, cut them to size, screw it all together, and send it off. In this case, you might fill the screw holes for the back so that people aren't tempted to take it apart from the wrong side. No. If you're sending multiple pieces, consider at what point the awkwardness of the bundle makes it unsafe for you to send them in one container. paintings in glassine, given them an acid-free foam core cover, and wrapped that in bubble wrap. And then, I stuck it in a cardboard box where it can sit harmlessly in my office. If I was driving my work to a show, I'd consider keeping it in this box, but I would never ship it this way. It's too big and awkward. You can see that there's lots of room for the art to slide around and bang into each other, and each piece doesn't have enough protection. To ship multiple pieces, you're likely to need a wooden crate. This is one of the 2 crates that I built to tour a show of 20 works on paper, 10 frames to a crate. I created a wooden box with scraps of plywood and 1x2s. The sides, bottom, and top are padded with the blue foam insulation that comes in 4x8 foot sheets at the hardware store. I ran it through the table saw to cut grooves to put in foam core to keep the art from rubbing against each other, and used a hole saw to cut notches so that you could reach in and pull out the art. The system worked pretty well, but if I were to do it again, I'd probably make 4 crates instead of 2. By the time I loaded in all of the artwork, put on the extra layer of insulation on the top, notice the way in which I've cut out a notch so that it's easy to lift out, put on the lid and screwed it all together, each of these crates weighed 69 pounds. I did add handles to make it a little bit easier, but it's still probably too big and awkward. Though it would have cost more in both materials and shipping, it probably would have been safer if I had each crate hold half as many works of art. When you're making your wooden crate, use decking screws instead of drywall screws. Drywall screws are surprisingly brittle and will frequently snap. The wider spacing of the threads on the decking screws will keep the wood from getting chewed up quite as fast with repeated opening and closing.